My name is Mary Ragui, an entrepreneur, trainer, consultant, and a coach in business. So today we will be covering a team that is a dream team. And for those who have been attending the webinars, you can remember that we have covered 2 extra webinars on a dream team. We had Dream Team 1 and Dream Team 2. And therefore today we are going to actualize what we shared in the previous webinars. So I'll start sharing my screen so that we can move on. And I hope you can all see the screen.
Yes, I can see the screen.
Thank you. Let me take it to the slideshow. Yes, there we are. So today we'll be covering Dream Team. And before we start off, it's important for me to acknowledge what is happening to our industry. A tour operator, and therefore I know what is happening in the industry. And we always say that hardships often prepare ordinary people for extraordinary destiny. What we are going through now, our getting out of it and having our extraordinary destiny shape up is dependent on what we are doing now. What are we doing when things are not working? And that calls for leadership, that calls for management, and that is where your role as an entrepreneur comes in. Keller said that a bend in the road is not the end of the road, but it can easily be the end of the road. Why? If you fail to make the turn, then you may land into the ditch, becoming the end of the road. So what is happening now? We are just taking a bend, ensure that you make the turn and make the right turn. Because if you make it wrongly, then you'll be headed to the wrong direction. And direction is the most important thing now as we move on into the next phase. So just to remind ourselves on a team, we say that a team is 2 or more people who are interdependent, meaning they are not working as solos. They are not working in isolation of each other, but they are depending on each other for a certain purpose or task. And as a result of being with each other, it means that they are mutually accountable. So one's decisions or actions will equally affect all the others. And a team perceives themselves as a social entity. And looking at this definition, we want to come up with a team for our businesses that will have a common purpose, a common goal. And that goal is defined by yourself for your business according to the rating that you have for it, the vision that you have for it. We discussed the advantages of a team, and we said that this team will be comprised of people who have different kinds of knowledge, ability, and efforts. So they should bring in synergy into the team. And as a result of the diversity of their knowledge and innovation, we are expecting fewer errors. Why? Because remember, we are working, we are having mutual collaboration, and therefore, in case of anything, it is all of us and not one of us. The other advantage is constructive conflict. We are learning from each other because of our various background, different knowledge, different ability, and therefore what you thought you knew might not necessarily be what will drive the team. And as a result of that, constructive conflict we are learning and becoming whole as a team, able to give better output and efficiency of the business. Team will also increase motivation and engagement because there's a lot of communication when people are working as a team, and people do not look for blame, but look for making each other better. And therefore, high level of motivation and engagement is expected in the team. We had also discussed why we need a dream team for our business. And among others, we said that normal is no longer normal. We have seen that almost 7 months down the line and continuing, particularly for our industry. There is also change in customer demands. Looking at health and safety, looking at experiences, looking at travel from a very different angle than they used to. Calling for a team that is able to see and forecast to ensure that customers' demands are taken care of, and therefore sustainability in our business is ensured. There is also sharpening of focus. We need all this knowledge and diversity to ensure that we move from this level to a higher level. We are looking at cutting expenses, ensuring that we use as little as possible to achieve as much as possible. It is also time to shed away what is not right for us. And we say that it's a good opportunity for us to look into the team and prepare it accordingly. We are also experiencing changes in operating model, whereby we used to work alone. Now we are calling for more collaborations, meaning that what and how you used to look at things will change. Calling for sharper, brighter, and more imaginative skills. We also need to score fast and fast. And finally, we need a dream team because we have realized that our businesses have to be risk tolerance. We have seen what has happened and what is happening, and therefore we need a team to look at the business in a very different way. And it is my sincere hope and prayer that all the webinars we have attended, we have started working and practically redoing our business models, including our strategic plans, our models, our operations, our visions, missions, and values to ensure that we take care of all the risks that could be part of our business. So what will change in terms of the team? I know many of us have seen this. Is it an insect or what is it? How do you call it in your language? Maybe you can tell yourself. But when we look at this larva, we don't see the beauty in it. And neither can we imagine it being beautiful. I believe many tourists would not be attracted to the same because it's not even visible. Then it comes to that level of a pupa. I know we all went to school and therefore we know the 4 stages of butterfly. So when it is at this level, Rarely do we even notice it. Ugly, dull, and not presentable at all. But then we have another beautiful creature coming up there that is good to look at, that makes us happy, that keeps everyone awake, appreciating nature. So what will change in this team? First of all, before we go to what will change, we need to understand that as managers, we are the ones to bring this change happen. We are the ones to move our businesses from the larva to the butterfly stage. So the first thing that will change will be the employment terms. The contracts will change. We have seen how things can change, and therefore this can no longer be the same as before. It is per need. The other thing that will change is a specialization. We had few people specialized in certain areas. We may see this changing, having all-rounded people to ensure that we minimize cost as much as possible, but we give more value to our customers. The other thing that will change is the trust levels between you and your employees, customers, supply chain, team, as we call it. The levels of trust will change. Some of us never thought that our tour assistants would go home with our laptops and start working from there, using our data that we are not so sure of how it will be used. Whatever is happening has brought a new wave of trust, and this will be permanent change in teamwork. Additionally, we'll be having lots of collaborations instead of competitions, where teams are coming together, joining forces for a certain goal. Relationship management of your team will also call for change. How do you relate with each other? What is it that is expected from this relationship? Remember the employment terms we have said, they will change. The other change that will come in is a clarification of roles. Lots of communication and change of culture. This is because it's a new business calling for new ways of management. Today, having worked from home and some of us still at home, we have seen this change coming in handy. Communication, putting people in different places but expecting results. Having lots of sharing online, files sharing, reducing micromanagement, ensuring that we increase the level of autonomy and clarifying this autonomy by clarification of the roles. The other thing that will change is upskilling the team. We can no longer stay with the team that we had as is and as was. Something needs to be done. For us to beat the specialization, then it means that we need to upskill the team. Lots of coaching and mentoring will be put in place for the team. We cannot afford to have the team without changes. And therefore, we need to sharpen them. We need to bring out that which is in them using coaching. Additionally, we need to mentor them, bringing them to the level that we want them to be. And finally, the performance management will change. How do we assess the work that has been done per day, per time? This will also change. Pablo Picasso said that our goals can only be reached through a vehicle of a plan. We need a plan to make it in terms of the new dream team. And there is no other route to success. Without planning, you will not get to succeed. So what is this team planning that we're talking about? Last Monday, we had a publication that clock is ticking for UK tourism as businesses prepare to shed off their staff. Then before absorbing that, and remember UK is where some of us get our tourists from. Before absorbing that, on Friday, there was one on Rainier, slashing October capacity by another 20% and warning of more cuts during the winter season. Still the same day, we got another one of doubt hanging over STA Travel as parent company files for insolvency. So what does this tell us? This tells us that there is change as far as our source markets are concerned. Today, I read another one that was saying that most of the travelers have been affected because they have lost their jobs. As a result of that, the travel agents are also closing down because they don't have what they used to have. So what does this tell us? This tells us that we need to change. There is change out there. We cannot afford to stay the way we were working before. And as I said earlier, we need to start preparing ourselves. We need to plan. And team planning is all about identifying the number of team players and the types of skill sets required. This is to assist us meet the organizational goals and objectives that we have set, and also to deliver what we have promised. And it's important for us to try and differentiate this from what we call succession planning, because when people hear of team planning, it is often confused with succession planning. And as team planning is looking at the talents, defining the roles, and looking at the skill sets, succession planning, on the other hand, try to enlist specific names of people and tying them to these roles and showing how ready they are to move to the new positions. So team planning is different from succession planning, because team planning, you don't have somebody who is tagged. You are only trying to bring in the team, to identify the team and the skill sets required to meet the goals. So what do we need to consider while planning? First of all, we need to have the right size, the right numbers, not understaffed, not overstaffed. Numbers without the right competencies will not get us to where we want to go to. That is our organizational goals. And therefore, you need to have the right shape, critical competencies, succession management, ensuring that these people have the right talents and skills and at the right cost. We cannot afford to pay them more than we are getting from our businesses. And therefore, the talent that we are trying to bring into the team has to be manageable in terms of cost. And finally, we need people to have the right agility, flexibility, resilient into our business. And so we ask ourselves, how will we ensure that there is high team performance? This is through leadership, and it is brought out by various players. Let us just watch a 3 minutes video on the same. Let me pull it up. Yes.
I don't have this. Color so that you can bring out the what's laughing? Mommy. What's that? Mommy, what's that?
It's one of the people who is presenting.
Hi, Mary.
Hi,
I can't see anything.
you can see.
No. Christine, can you see anything?
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear background noise, but I can't see.
Okay. I exit. Oh, yes, I stopped sharing. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm enjoying myself. Okay, let me share it again. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
You can?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. Sorry, team, for that. So let's go.
Happy customers, loyal employees, higher profit. Do you want to become a high-performance organization? Discover the secret.
Don't lose the ball! Lose the ball and be eaten!
Global competition, clients, technology. The pressure on organizations to consistently perform better is increasing.
If you're left, you go to the right. If you're right, you go to the left. If you're in the middle, you may go left, you may go right. but never stay the same.
But how to improve? Reorganization? More control? New strategy?
That is great.
Are you flooded with an endless stream of improvement methods and instruments?
Don't lose the ball! Please don't act so stupid! Go to the right, not to the left! Come on!
Do you really listen to each other?
Go to the ball! Get the ball! They have the ball! Go to the ball! Go to the ball! Come on! One stop passing! Ball to the center! No, don't stand outside! Don't stand outside!
Do departments work together?
No, there's a red flag on this! No! No! Why don't you go forward? All forward! Don't be back! Go to the ball! The ball's here! Come on, why don't you stand there?
Is everybody where they are at their best? Do managers coach and inspire to do better? Limited time requires a strong focus on what really matters to excel. Years of study reveal 5 success factors of high-performance organizations. First, quality of management. Coaching leaders, leading by example with integrity, and decisive and result-orientated also regarding to non-performers. Second, quality of employees. Flexible, diverse, complementary, and team workers. Third, continuous improvement and innovation. And HBO has a unique strategy to continuously improve, simplify, and align processes. Factor 4 is the openness and action orientation of an HPO. Breaking down walls through shared dialogue, knowledge sharing, and learning from mistakes. And the last success factor is long-term orientation. Work together for long-term continuity instead of short-term profit. Don't accept mediocrity. Become a high-performance organization.
Yes, I wanted us to see that high-performance organization and leadership towards teamwork and team development. And as you could see there, I hope the screen is now back. Caroline, please confirm my screen is back.
Yes, your screen is back.
Okay, thank you. Looking at that video, having watched that video, I am sure you can tell yourself of who you are as a leader. And we saw from the beginning how that coach was, how stressed he was. Why was he stressed? Is it because of the workers? Is it because of the models? Is it because of the customers? We saw different players there. There was the leader, there were the players who were the employees, if we were to convert that into business. And we had the other customers who were cheering, looking forward to getting the right goods, but we saw that even the ball was in a square shape, making it so difficult for the employees. So what are we talking about here? The team that we first of all come up with. Remember, team is both inside and outside. We are not just looking at what is there internally, but what is there internally and externally. It is the whole supply chain that we're looking at so that we make our work as easy as possible for high performance. And Brian Tracy said that A true test of leadership is how well you function in a crisis. How well you function in such crisis, in this crisis that we are in. What kind of plans do we come up with? What kind of teams do we come up with? What about the strategic plans? What are we doing to ensure that we come out stronger than we were before? Let's look at the team planning process. A team planning process. The first thing is to identify the team members' requirements. What is it that these team members need? Who are these team members that we are looking at? What kind of skills should they have? What are they bringing on the table? Remember, we said that your money is with these employees, with these customers, with this supply chain members, and with your team in terms of the agencies that are giving you business, etc. So what is the requirement of each of these team players? Then you try to identify the critical activities, the critical jobs, so that you know how to plug in the members. The other process is to forecast the workforce, looking also into the labor market. Do you have that kind of skill, that kind of resource that you're looking for? Is it in the market? And at what cost? Remember, we said that it's not just the right numbers and skills, but we also need to look at costs. We'll go through this in depth. We need to determine the current and future gaps. What do we have, or what did we have? What do we want for the future? And what is the gap? How do we fill in that gap? And before we fill in the gap, we need to determine internal and external drivers for the team. What will be the drivers? We'll look into that deeper again. Then the next step will be to formulate the workforce plan, where we are coming up with our organizational structure, our organigram chart. And finally, we need to execute and keep monitoring to understand whether that is what we were looking for in terms of capability, in terms of capacity. What are we looking for? And when we are doing all this, it's important for us to be aware of what we call the Peter Principle. The Peter Principle states that people who are promoted based on their previous success, if they are not sharpened, if their capacity is not improved, then it means that they will come to a point where they fail. Because they have succeeded previously doesn't necessarily mean that they will keep excelling in the future. And therefore we need to note that it's not just promoting them because we have a vacancy, and we have said that we have to change our organigram. Creating a new position doesn't necessarily call for promotion of those within, not unless we have prepared them accordingly for the new position. Otherwise, it will be demotivating to somebody who have previously performed, but now cannot perform in the new task because of their capacity and capability. So before we do anything else, we need to look at our current team. We need to audit the team skills and talents. And I've just given an example there of team member versus the skill of the team member. We have team member A, B, C, D, and E. And I have put in some skills or talents or jobs, for that matter, that can be carried out. This will differ from an organization to the other. We have tour operators, we have travel agents, we have accommodations, we have the CBOs. Depending on what you're doing, you know the team members that, you know the skills and talents that you require. And looking at this example, what are you trying to do? You are trying to map out. This is what we call talent mapping. You are trying to understand, in the current team, whom do you have? What can they do? What can't they do? For example, there we have team member, member A, who is good in marketing, good in travel, good in customer service. We have member C there, good in accounts, good in customer service. And we can see what we have for the others. Looking at that, we can clearly tell that we don't have anyone in IT or with IT skills. Again, marketing, we only have 2 members who can do that. Tour planners, only 2. What are we trying to do? We are trying to see which jobs can be combined or which members can be able to do different things. Who are these that we can do with, or who are these that we cannot do away with based on their skills? And when we do this, we have what we call the skill audit for our company. And we know that, for example, when member A is not there, and there's something that is to be done in marketing, we can call on member E. And remember, we are working together as a team to deliver a goal very seamlessly, ensuring that we communicate as much as possible. It means that we cannot call anyone else if member C is not there for accounts, meaning that we have some weakness there. But then it might not be a weakness depending on our firm. How big are we? What kind of activities are there? Additionally, we may ask ourselves, do we need this as a permanent position? Can we do with a contract whereby this person is coming a few days a week? We have seen the changes that are going to be there, and they are already there anyway, whereby we are calling for more collaborations and not competition, trying to reduce costs as much as possible. So in the process, we said that we also need to look at the critical activities and the critical jobs. What are the key activities required to provide this product or services and ultimately success of our business? I have said we have different kind of businesses, and therefore I look at accommodation, for example. This person will be looking at things to do with housekeeping, maybe the kitchen, the chef, the waiters, and the rest. While a travel agent will be looking at the travel assistants, the customer service, etc., etc. So what is this that must be done? What is this that you cannot do away with in your business? And here you try to categorize them from the least required to the critical, for you to understand what can I outsource, or what do I need to build capacity in. I don't know for your company, how well does your organization align its workforce to the critical areas of your business? Maybe you can put that into the chat. Tell us how well your organization aligns its workforce to the critical areas of the business. Do you have all the critical areas filled in? And if not, how else do you do it to ensure that if they are critical, they've been taken care of, if they are medium, and even if they are least, if they are going to contribute to your success, then you cannot ignore them. It's only that you have to align them differently. We looked at this previously, the team's profiles, where we discussed the 4 energies. That is the activating energy, which maybe I can just summarize to bring you back to speed. The activating energy was the energy that accelerates and ignites change. Somebody with the capability to bring in or spark change. We had the inspiring energy, assisting others to be productive. We had the sustaining energy, the implementer, bringing it to life. And we had the refining energy, going to details. We had the 8 profiles, starting with the catalyst profile, where a member with this profile is self-driven and ignites change. The champion profile, where a member here is vibrant and exciting, a troubleshooter in that case, to shake the status quo. We had a coach profile, who was the light of others, assisting others to overcome challenges. Connecting profile, I would urge you to go back to our Dream Team 2 presentation. It has all this. I'm just trying to say what they are for the sake of maybe anyone who had not attended the webinar. But it's important for you to go back because it's deeper. We have the connector, who is building bridges between the team's ideas and the resources. The person with the custodian profile is the one guarding and protecting our resources to ensure that we honor our promise. That is why this person is a custodian. Cultivator profile, trying to nurture us, trying to nurture the team to mitigate the risks, ensure that we deliver in a timely manner. And the conducting profile, the conductor there, is to ensure optimal performance. We said that the conductor is the one who is going out, getting data, trying to bring the meaning out of those data for success of our business. And the last profile there was the calibrator. And this calibrator, we said, is the experimenter of any new approach. And his or her role is to ensure that we continuously improve or refine the organization. So as I said, you can go back to our previous webinar on this to get more. But the reason as to why I shared is because I want us to look at, trying to look at the gaps. What are the gaps between what we have and what we will be looking at in the future? Looking at what we looked at earlier, between these members, we realize that there are gaps that we need to fill and ask ourselves, do we need people with these particular capabilities? And how many of them do we need? How many of them do we need? Are we opening a new location? If yes, if no, then we need to try and identify the gap between what we have and what we are looking at. And we have a question there. Is your business able to identify the gaps in your team? Are you able to come up with clear identification of what is lacking, what you need? This will be shared as a poll question later on. We need to do the gap analysis for the team energy, the profiles that we have just discussed between the team members. Because we said previously that you need the 4 energies in your business. And if you're not able to do clear mapping of the energies that you have, and remember we are saying it's both internally and externally. That is why a team is important. A team is not just for your members inside the organization, but also those people outside the organization. For example, a business coach would be of importance to your company. You may have a mentor who is coming into your team, but not on your payroll, but as a member of the team. After you have done the analysis of gaps and you now want to fill them, very important for us to understand that if we are not able to do this and do it well, then it might mean that we have the activating energy, we are able to come up with ideas, but maybe we are lacking the refining energy. We are not able to sharpen these ideas to a level that the details of the ideas will be brought out for the success of this particular team. So it is good for us to do the analysis of energy. For this gap, we need to ask ourselves questions. Do we build these skills and talents? Do we buy them or do we borrow? We have identified the skills that are lacking. We have identified the energies that are lacking. How do we fill in the gaps? Do we recruit new people? Because we don't have enough capacity. Do we retain the existing? Remember, we said it is time to shed off. And we should be able to put on our business hat while working on this, because it is not an individual that you're targeting. It is a position based on your analysis. Do we need to change roles to suit the newly identified gaps? What about change in the organizational structure? Is it calling for buy, build, or borrow? What about the leadership or culture change, where we change our policies? How do we fill in the gaps identified when we do that? Training and development, how is it going to help us as far as these gaps are concerned? What about assessment of these team members? Objective assessment, not subjective. As much as you're looking at the individual, it is good for you to become objective so that the feedback that you give will both assist you and the person. Is it a replacement? Is it an upgrade? Is it a contract to a third-party supplier? How are you going to fill in this gap? Do you develop the talents internally? That is what we are calling build. Or do you hire external talents? You avoid the Peters principle. In case this person doesn't have the right capability. Or you bring in a third party, that is the borrowing concept. And in all this, we need to consider three important factors. The timing, how fast do you want this to be done? We need to consider the cost. The cost of buying instead of building. The cost of borrowing. And here you're looking at even things to do with your company secrets. What is the cost? Trade-off. What about the length of time required? All of this has to be considered. We saw in the process there is internal and external determinants that we should look at. And here we are looking at the resources available. And these resources should be considered around your value proposition. What is this value that you're proposing to your customers? The channels of distribution, your customer relationships, and your revenue streams. Do you have the right resources? Because that will determine the team planning that you're coming up with. There is also the value, organizational values. We said that values are like fingerprints. Different organizations with their own values. This will determine buy, build, or borrow. Culture change management. Do we need to change our culture? Definitely we have to. because it is the new normal and we cannot run away or shy away from it. We also need to carry out the internal versus external ownership requirement. To what level? Which secrets? What can be outsourced? Etc., etc. We need to identify the key partners in the supply chain and out of the supply chain. And I always say that you can look at industries very different from ours to get partners from there. Why are you doing that? You're trying to diversify, you are trying to increase your diversity in the team. The cost analysis we have discussed. We need to look at the motivation variables and the demographic characteristics of our team members. Which ages? What do they look for in terms of motivation? All this will be determining the team that you're coming up with. Cooperation or collaboration opportunities, also very important for you to look at that. Which ones are coming up? Which teams should you join? As a company, which memberships must you have? And also finally, we need to look at the terms and conditions because they are very important. And I always say it's good to read the fine prints. And the terms and conditions are changing, both for us, for our employees, for our customers. And therefore it is important for us not to fail to look at that as we are looking at the internal and external determinants in the process of team planning. Kenichi Ohame said that rowing harder doesn't help if the boat is headed in the wrong direction. Planning for the team will only help you if you have the right strategic plan, the right business model. Otherwise, you come up with a team plan that is not Caroline, are we okay? Caroline?
Hi, Mary. Yes, we are.
Okay, I can hear some noises.
Someone needs to be muted. Okay, we're fine now.
Thank you. So we need to ensure that the team plan is tied to the strategic plan of your business. Remember, we talked of the right numbers with the right skills, the right cost, very important. And that is why it needs to be in line with your business strategy. So to conclude, we have the assignment for the monthly coaching. And this will be shared by your coaches. But I would like Caroline to put up the poll questions. Yes, Caroline is sharing the polls. And please, if we can respond to this, is your business able to identify where the gaps are in your team? And the second one is the size and skill set of your current workforce capable of executing the business future needs. Let us work on the polls a little bit first.
Let's give at least 2 minutes for everyone to complete the poll. So if you haven't answered the questions, please do so now.
Yes, we are waiting for you to complete the poll.
Yep. We have 24 respondents. So can the rest who have not answered just quickly share your inputs?
So we have more than 20 who have not responded. Please do. Is your business able to identify the gaps in your current team? And is the size and skill set of your current workforce capable of executing the business's future needs?
Only 15 companies left, and then we'll close the poll. So if you haven't answered, please share your inputs now, and then we'll share the answers after everyone has shared their answers.
Please ensure you share with us this because it is helping us shape our future trainings. To know what to do part-time. And we said planning is very, very important. And you cannot plan without information. How many are still remaining, Caroline?
11.
11, that's a very high number.
In the meantime, I can share with you the answers. So for the first question, is your business able to identify where the gaps are in your team? 89% have answered yes, and 11% no. And is the size and skill set of your current workforce capable of executing the business's future needs? 21% yes, 39% no, and 39% maybe.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna end the polling because it's been 3 minutes. We've had 28 respondents out of 39.
Okay.
And I can share results. Can you see them?
Yes, I can. So we have 89% of the businesses are able to identify the gaps, which is very good. And where we have a divide is in the future, whether these size and skill set is capable of executing the future business needs, with 39% equally saying no or maybe. Thank you so much, Caroline, for sharing. And this will help us shape our future trainings. And it may be that we may need to go deeper, not only to the company owners, but maybe to the employees. And with that, I end my presentation. Thank you so much for listening to me for the last 1 hour. And now I welcome questions and answers. And I can see Naoye saying that I don't know what I clicked, but the poll document has vanished. Maybe time had already elapsed. I don't know. Caroline, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mary. Sorry now that you just missed the poll, but The questions are also available in the presentation slides, and if you have any follow-up that you want to do with the team, you can feel free to reach out to us. So the questions and answer session is now open. So for those whose microphones are working, you can just unmute yourself and ask a question directly to Mary. For those whose microphones are not working, please use the chat option at the bottom of the screen and we can read out your questions to Mary.
We are open to question session, and I can see comments from Minnie and Christine. Thank you for the compliments. The content well articulated and equally very relevant. Thank you, Minnie. We are waiting for more questions, and I can see one from Vero. I think my concern in terms of workforce and capacity and skill set is the fact that our travel and tourism industry is highly seasonal. And with the pandemic, unpredictable. How do we plan for future with that? Thank you, Vero, for that question. And from the presentation, I talked of what will change. And for sure, the employment terms will change. And what I mean by employment terms changing, relationship management staging, we've come to a point where we need to understand and realize of these changes, not only in our industry because of the seasons, but also in the other industries because of what has happened recently and what is happening now with COVID-19. And when we talk of the employment terms, it could call for hiring what we had called borrowing in terms of third-party providers, not having permanent teams for roles that you are sure the company is not, they are not very critical. Remember, we divided them into least, medium, and critical roles. So which kind of roles are you able to borrow, that is hiring out? Also, again, the buying will not be 100%. The collaboration part and the trust levels, we have said they'll go high. And here is where you will take, for some positions, you will take one person for a few hours in the week and not necessarily a full-time employees. So that is what is going to change. And this will not only be for the tourism industry, and therefore lots of upskilling for your team to ensure that they become experts in various levels. They become all-rounded. And that is why we are doing the audit, to be sure of where we are, to know what to play with. I don't know whether that has fully answered you, Vero. Maybe you can put in the chat. I can read from Mary Gikingo, great session. Bridget, amazing, very insightful and well informative. Stella, thank you, great session, practical and implementable. Bridget, thanking the SheTrade team for putting this together, and Hannah, insightful information. Any other question? Caroline?
We can give maybe 1 more minute for the Q&A session to remain open. For those whose microphones are working, you can directly unmute yourself and ask the question directly. Okay, it seems that Mary, you covered the sessions very well, actually. We have a question from Vera. She's asking if you have a limited workforce, if you have a very limited workforce, is outsourcing the critical roles wise? For example, accounting, marketing, and IT.
Thank you for that question. And critical roles, it will all depend on how we are looking at them. And particularly, we said that sharing of these employees will become the norm. We said that having trust levels going higher, corroborating will be a norm. And therefore, some of these might be outsourced. Like, for example, marketing. What would hinder you from outsourcing marketing? It will go out there. It is only your secrets, those well-guarded secrets that maybe you'd be fearing so much to outsource. But things to do with accounting, marketing, IT, what you need to do is to come up with terms and conditions of your engagement and know to what level. That is why we now need systems to know what can be accessed and what cannot be accessed by the outsiders. And therefore, yes, it is possible to outsource them, but what you need to do is to ensure that you have proper systems that you can be able to separate issues. I hope I have answered to your question.
Hi, Mary. I have a question. How important is it, because you just mentioned that there may come a time where you have to share the same employees, and considering that also tourism is quite seasonal and you have to know the level of, I guess, the priority level of your employees. How important are standard operating procedures to just help maybe new workers or employees to know the routine operations of the organization, because you can't keep retraining new people all the time that are coming in?
Thank you, Caroline. One of the things that we should all realize is that maintaining the team that you have is less costly than hiring a new team. The more you motivate your staff to stay with them, and particularly for those who are working well. Remember, we said that we are shedding off some, but we are trying to cut expenses also of bringing in new people. The standard operating procedures are very important. And this is where induction comes in. But as much as you're doing inductions, you have your induction packages to your employees. Remember, it is better for you to deal with maintaining instead of recruiting new members. And particularly if these are good employees. That is why you are carrying out the audit to understand who are these that I have with me? What are their skills? What are their talents? And how good can I make use of them in the organization? I don't know whether that has answered to you, Caroline.
Yes, it has. Thank you, Mary. This is the last call for any questions before we conclude the webinar. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording first.